This fluffing movie. So the Happytime Murders is directed by Brian Henson, who is the son of the great Jim Henson, who was the mastermind behind all of the puppets and the Muppets and all of that. And he brings us this new tale about a cast of a Muppet TV series inside of this film universe called the Happytime Gang, who are all being killed off one by one. And we join up with the detective who gets partnered up with this old police detective back when he was a cop himself to solve these murders and why this crime is happening. And we have ourselves a puppet movie. Now this movie, ever since I heard about it, I thought was a pretty good idea, just because obviously it's R-rated Muppets, and it's quite interesting in that regard. Now, obviously this is all done through puppets, and there is live action in there as well. Obviously we do have Melissa McCarthy in the lead role alongside our main puppet character, and there's also many others as well, a lot of good celebrity cameos that you'll definitely enjoy in this movie. Now, Bill Berretta plays the lead puppet in this film called Phil Filson, and I actually thought he was really good. He was really funny. He actually really had like this engaging tone, and his character was actually one of those characters that you just really enjoy kind of going along the journey with. He was very much, kind of like a no-nonsense cop. He was kind of the guy who, was very over the hill, kind of doesn't really enjoy anyone around him. He kind of thinks everyone around him is idiots, that kind of character. But he was very entertaining. I think the voice actor of Bill Berretta, who applied his voice to the character, was very well performed, and I really enjoyed his performance overall. Now, Melissa McCarthy. This is interesting because this is the best I've seen Melissa McCarthy in a long time. I have given Melissa McCarthy a lot of stick over the past couple of years because ever since the movie Spy, I haven't really seen her do a good movie or a good performance. This was a really funny and really charismatic performance from Melissa McCarthy, which I've been waiting for her to do. I know she can do it. She's done it before. I've been waiting for this moment because Melissa McCarthy, similarly to what I said about Kate McKinnon in The Spy Who Dumped Me, she's really funny. She really is, and she has it. She has it within her, and she's a great performance. She's been getting the wrong thing, and she's been playing the same character. And granted, she is playing a similar character in this movie. There's something about it, is her performance. She's not playing exactly the same. She's a lot more competent. She's a lot more feisty. I think she actually has a lot more of a driven performance in this movie. And I actually really enjoyed her. And like I said, best performance of her since Spy in 2015. Easily. And also her chemistry that she has with Bill Berretta, who, like I said, is actually a puppet. Like, she's acting with a puppet in this movie. And to have good chemistry like that, I mean, that's, no easy feat. So I actually give Melissa McCarthy a lot of credit for this movie. Now, bottom line, this movie is a comedy, so you go in there for the jokes. And obviously this movie's big selling point is its Muppet swearing, sexual jokes, and things of that nature. And do those jokes land? Well, yes and no. This movie has a lot of good jokes in it. This movie does have a lot of moments that will have you laughing. This movie does have a lot of good jokes. And I feel like this film, although it does rely on its concept a lot, I feel like a lot of the jokes in here that even aren't about that do actually land very, very well. However, I'd say about 50% of them land, the other 50% don't. It's a very hit or miss ratio. Like, it's a very much a thing where you'll laugh at some jokes, you won't laugh at others. It's just the way it is, and unfortunately, that is an unfortunate case. But, like I said, it's actually surprising that about 50% of the jokes hit, and how the movie didn't rely on the process in the jokes as much as I thought it was going to. So that was actually quite impressive on its part. Now, some of the jokes did feel forced, because obviously this whole movie feels forced in that regard, in the sense that somebody came up with this concept of having R-rated puppets and just ran with it and made this movie. So it does feel forced, and there are some jokes that are like, okay, tone it back a bit, you don't need to go that far. And like I said, the movie kind of feels a little bit like that at times, just because of its overall concept. But on the whole, I think the jokes are actually very funny for the most part. Like I said, they don't all land. Some of them are a bit forced in terms of the movie itself, but I still think the jokes were a definite high point of this movie. Surprisingly, the story in this film was actually pretty engaging. I actually thought it was really surprising. I didn't go into this movie expecting a story at all, but I went into it and they presented this story in front of me on screen, which I was actually quite impressed by. I mean, it's nothing spectacular. It's definitely something you've seen before. It's just like a group of people are getting killed, they're all connected, and you just have to figure out who's doing it. But I didn't really expect that. I didn't really expect to get a story like that, and I was able to follow it quite pleasantly, and I actually really enjoyed the story of this movie. Like I said, it's nothing revolutionary, it's nothing great, but it's, definitely something you've seen before. I just didn't expect it, and I thought it was actually quite well executed. And also, I feel like there is one thing this movie really could have played on a lot more, which is there's this idea that puppets in this world are second-class citizens, and there's a lot of puppet racism. I feel like they could have played on that a bit more. They do play on it a bit, and there are mostly played for jokes, but I think it would have been actually cool to maybe have a side plot where we explored that a little bit more. Maybe it would have dragged out the movie to be a bit longer, because the movie is only an hour and a half, but I think it would have been really cool to actually just explore that a little bit more, because it was actually quite interesting for the world building to actually focus in on this element of puppet racism and these puppets being a second-class citizen. And it would have probably dragged the movie down, to be fair, because obviously this is a comedy and that would be a bit more of a darker subject if they focused on it a bit more than they did. I just would have liked to have seen a little bit more. Also, this film has a lot of noir cliches, which was quite entertaining. Obviously, you do have Bill Berretta kind of narrating the whole thing like a detective, and when he walks in, you know, and he goes into his office and there's a client there, and, you know, if it's a female client, you know, he kind of talks about her in that sense, like a 1940s detective story, like noir story. There's a lot of cliches like that, but I can't really fault the movie for using these cliches, because it recognises its cliches and it is kind of doing it as a meta joke, so I have to give it props for that. And I said this about Melissa McCarthy's last movie, Life of the Party, but I'll say it again here. Maya Rudolph is such a legend. I think she's so funny. She's really entertaining. Every movie she's in, she steals the show. She did it in Life of the Party. She was the only good thing about that movie. And in this movie, completely steals the show as well. I think she's fantastic in this. Absolutely standout. Again, her chemistry with Bill Berretta, her chemistry with Melissa McCarthy, she is phenomenal. She is a comedy genius. You know, I loved her back on SNL. I still love her now. I think she needs to get more roles. I really do. I feel like she needs to come back into the leading role, because she hasn't done one for a long time, and I think she needs to come back into the starlight, because she is so good, so underutilized, and so underrated. Maya Rudolph, you're not watching this, but if you are, I love you, you're amazing, keep doing what you're doing. Overall, the Happytime Murders I actually found to be a pleasantly good time at the cinema. I went into this movie expecting the worst. I went into it thinking I was going to hate it. I was like, this movie's going to be terrible, it's just going to be awful. And I think because I did go in with those expectations, maybe I enjoyed it a bit more than most people will. But I was really shocked by how much I actually enjoyed the movie. Like I said, overall in concept, the movie does feel a little bit forced. About half the jokes don't work. Sometimes the jokes do feel like they're just kind of being, you know, too crude for the sake of it, because they can, based on concept alone. But like I said, a lot of the jokes do land, and I think a lot of the jokes are really funny. In terms of the world building, I think they do a really good job. Like I said, with that puppet racism, they could have explored it a little bit more. But with all that being said, I think all the performances in this movie are excellent. Melissa McCarthy, best performance in a long time. Bill Berretta was great. Maya Rudolph, fantastic. And like I said, I think the story was actually pretty well told. And overall, I had a good time with this movie. And I think it was actually a big surprise, and I was very happy to report that. So did you guys see the Happytime Murders? If you did, what did you think about it? Tell me all your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let's have a conversation about this movie in the comment section down below. And as always, if you want to see more movie reviews from me, be sure to subscribe. And I hope to see you guys again in my next video.